floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. Hi, welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Drew Brown. We hope to inspire, entertain, and learn something so we can all make this world a better place for our children. I'd like to introduce to you somebody who's my friend, my wingman, my main man, and I have a wingman watching my back, Dr. Paul Thompson. Hey, Paul, what's happening?
Oh, not much. Hello, everyone. I'm Paul Thompson, and you just heard from Mr. Drew Brown, Dark Gable. He's the American dream. He's the man, the myth, the legend, the pilot's pilot, the role model's role model, and most importantly, his royal fullness. How are you doing today, Mr. Dark Gable?
I'm doing great, and I'm glad I'm full of knowledge, Paul. I'm glad I'm full of knowledge. Well, we're going to have a great show right now. Check this out. Dr. Paul, what's happening, my brother? You're looking good. You're looking good on this YouTube.
Yeah, I'm trying to be like you, look as good as I can for being a senior citizen. But I feel real good today. It's a beautiful day out, and it's not 110 degrees yet.
Well, you say I'm good looking. They tried to make fun of me in the Navy. They said, you think you're tall, dark, and handsome? Well, you're not Clark Gable. You're Dark Gable. Ha, ha, ha. And I was like, that's the coolest name I ever heard. So
that's true. That's true.
I kept it, took a negative, made it a positive. Anyway, wow, what a wingman story we have today. And matter of fact, I'm not going to tell you what it is, and you don't even know what it is. I'm pulling a little fast one on you. So just get ready for that, okay?
Okay.
My Peloton, how about this? Chelsea Jackson Roberts, my girl, who I do meditation with and I do yoga with, Katrina and I both, she is pregnant. And so her yoga classes are a little bit different. And so some of the harder moves that you really don't like doing, like it's like a push-up kind of move, she's not doing them, but she's telling you, please do them if you're allowed. And so if you want to take it easy, you're like, no, I'm just going to do what you do. But she's wonderful, and I'm glad that she looks so happy. Costco, I don't have any Costco stories. How about you? I really want a Costco story. You know, I shop at Costco like we have a family of 20. It's right. Katrina and I. That's it.
Yeah, well, it's Katrina, you and those gigantic dogs that eat
correct, yes.
They eat all the food out of Costco. They had to put restrictions on you. You ate so much food out of there.
That is true. That is true. For all our new and old listeners, first of all, thank you for all the old listeners, all you guys sticking with us. We're trying to get better. We are getting better. We're not trying. Trying, either you do or you don't. So we're getting better. Our new listeners, welcome. Welcome, welcome. We're an alternative to something bad. We're trying to be smart. We're trying to be healthy. I drank my kefir this morning. I'm trying to do probiotics for my gut. You gave me some sea moss. I put in my celery and cucumber. So we're a couple of badass Navy jet pilots who are trying to live a long time. We became pretty successful because of doing the right thing, and now we're trying to keep it by staying alive. You agree, yes. Doc?
I do. No Costco story. What did I get there? I got a lot of water. I like the sparkling water, the seltzer, as you call it. I go down on that. I use that a lot when it's hot outside, and put some ice in it, and it's really good for you. And I flavor it with lemon or lime. But the sea moss is great. Everybody should try the sea moss. There are expensive ways to do it, and there are inexpensive ways to do it. And I shared with Mr. Dark Gable here how to do it rather inexpensively. Even sent him a video on it, a method I use.
Thank you so much. And it really is easy. It just takes a little time to be healthy. Like it takes a little time to go to a fast food restaurant and eat a quarter pounder with cheese. Takes a little time.
I haven't had one of those.
When you die, I don't know. Anyway, gun control, talking about, wow. It's almost ridiculous. And I'm so happy we have this show so I can get my feelings out there. First of all, guns, Second Amendment. The Second Amendment was written so you have the right to bear arms against the government. In case the government starts messing up, all of us citizens have the right to fight them. That's what the Second Amendment is for. It says nothing about hunting. It says nothing about protection. It says nothing of none of that. But people take whatever they want and change however they want it. So if you want to fight the government, I would say that you do it in a court of law, because your guns are not going to do anything. Paul flies A7s, I fly A6s, and those planes will smoke your ass. and your neighborhood and your whole city out. So that's ridiculous to say Second Amendment. Now, talking about all that, and I love guns. Dr. Paul has guns. I love my guns, but don't lie about it. And I like it for protection, to be honest with you also. No kidding. I have to protect my family. But this is the trip. Dr. Paul, they're going to allow teachers to start carrying guns. And instead of like 700 hours of training, all you need is 24, something ridiculous. Well, we were talking, and I said, I don't know about the schools that they're talking about, but you better not carry a gun in the schools that I went to, that I know about, or even worse today, probably. They will take that gun and shove it up your butt. Dr. Paul, what do you think about teachers strapping, packing arms?
Well, there are a lot of things to unpack there. You got to say, which teacher? Is that all teachers? Is that everybody? Are you sure about this? How's it going to put, even if you've got, pilots in airplanes that have guns, there's controversies with that. And there have been unintentional firings. No one's been hurt. Airplanes have been hurt a little bit, but there's a lot of responsibility involved in that. It's really kind of a bad mark on society, where you've got to protect little children, not from the Taliban or from North Korea or from space aliens, but from the people who either go to the school or want to come back and do something crazy. But the reality is, I guess you've got to do something. There's a comedian named Sacha Baron Cohen that made a kind of a tape, a gag tape about being a specialist in Krav Maga and teaching people how to defend themselves. And he said, we don't have a problem with shooting in Israel. We have kindergartners that have guns. We call them kindergartens. And it was a spoof. It was actually very, very funny. It was serious stuff. He made it very funny. But that's essentially what you're talking about here. So you've got kindergarten teachers with, who are packing. How much training will they have? You've got to train a lot, because they're going to have situations where they're going to be like active shooters. They basically have to be SWAT people.
Yeah, but really Dr. Paul, what about in the hood? What about in the hood high schools? Forget kindergarten. Do you think that you really can carry something in the hood? If you got it on your hip, you one of the things you've got to consider is, like we say, you've got retention. How do you retain the weapon? It can be taken off you. At one point, I don't know if the case is now, but the majority of police officers who were shot with guns were shot by their own weapons. That was true some years ago. I don't know how soon, but that was, these are highly trained people. So I'm saying it comes with risk, comes with a lot of risk. Some say, well, I'd rather do that than nothing. I see that point also. But it's nothing, it's not like, well, I got my gun, I'm walking around. I see people with open carry, they're walking around. I see very, very little of it. But the one thing I've noticed, just personality-wise, in the few cases I've seen it, 80% of them they seem to they lack a lot of confidence just walking around. They're like this. And not everybody, there's a few of them, that's their job. But they're like this, and they got the extended magazine and sitting out there, where I'm in the line getting my prescription at Sam's refilled. And guys looking around, I was like, that's all right. And I'm thinking, I shouldn't be thinking, I bet I could get this from him in about 2 seconds if I wanted, easily. It's the extension thing sitting out like a foot. Is it a retain? I hope it's a retention holster. I assume it is. I don't know what it is. If it is or not, the guys that's kind of shaking. This one time, like, we are in desperate need. If something ever happened, somebody like that, I would just hit him with a solid object in the back of the head. You know what I do, Dr. Paul? I don't do it. I want to. Every time I see one of them fools, I really want to run up to him and say, officer, help. Somebody's after me. Please help me. Well, that's almost swatting. But here's the thing, even with airline pilots in the cockpit who carry guns, FFDOs, Federal Flight Deck. You were one of them. Yeah, I was. Federal Flight Deck officers. At a minimum, there is a basic psychological screening you have to go through. When I did the program, there was a written evaluation you had to fill out. They processed your paperwork. And if you were selected, later on, you'd do some other things.
you had to get an in-person psychological eval, which mine was like nothing. I met this guy at a library and we talked for about 30 minutes or so. And it was a long way away, but okay, that was it. But I've known of a couple people who didn't pass it and they were nutty.
Wow.
They were nutty.
Did I ever tell you when I jump seated on a FedEx plane when they started this FFDO? I jump seated. I was going somewhere, and the jump seats that are right in between the captain and the first officer. You sit right there. Yeah. Okay, so I sit down. This guy's packing. He's just packing. You know what his brief to me is? He makes like he has his gun. He swings it around. He says, "I need you to duck when that door is hit. As soon as they start knocking on the door, I need you to turn around, duck, and I'll come around this way." He actually he wanted somebody to shoot. He really did. It was weird. And it's not like what we did. Top Gun is on now, one of the highest grossing movies of all time. And people don't realize that the two people that are giving them this podcast are Top Gun pilots. We didn't fly fighters. We flew attack, meaning we did the same maneuvers. So I went to Top Gun school, but it wasn't called Top Gun school. It was called MATES, Medium Attack Training. It was the same maneuvers, same idea. Top Gun is the catchy word. But, we did it. Do you remember Fallon, Nevada?
Yeah, I remember Fallon, Nevada.
So I went down there and, it's like a one-horse town. It's almost like Gunsmoke, like one of those old Western towns. Yeah. There's a gambling, there's a saloon there. There's a house of prostitution or a hoe house, whatever you want to call it. Prostitution's legal there. So there is a house there. And it's just a small, tiny town. And it's tiny because we go there and bomb the place. Right. That's where most of the good bombing runs off for us. Right. Anyway, so we went through that school. I don't know if you went through the same school. I know you went through the same training.
Yeah.
The thing is, they call it different names. But everything you see in Top Gun, I always tell people, the Blue Angels, Paul?
Yes.
And we know the first Black Blue Angel, Donnie Cochran.
Yes.
Oh, wow. What a great guy. Anyway, I always tell people we do the same thing as the Blue Angels, except our audiences don't clap.
Yes, there's no clapping. Fallon there was what was close to it. Reno wasn't very far. Reno, Nevada. Or Lake Tahoe wasn't that far from Fallon. Mm-hmm. Other than that, it was in the sticks. Yeah, I was there a couple of times.
How long did that? And going to the gambling saloon.
Yeah. I saw somebody win like $15,000 there one night just before getting dinner. That was pretty good.
Wow.
It wasn't me.
Wow. Well, that's a very unusual story because casinos always get bigger.
Yes.
They get smaller.
Yeah.
How about, I'll tell you something. What is not getting smaller are the prices, gas prices, inflation. Inflation. So the Wingman Show is about this. No kidding. Part of it is some financial freedom. I truly believe that a person with some money and a purpose and a way to use that money, their life is easy in America, period. It just is. There's a lot of things you don't have to go through. This inflation has just gone through the roof. And I heard something and I really agreed with it. And I think we spoke about it on the show before, greedflation. In other words, these corporations, their costs might have gone up by 5-6%. They said, what the hell, let's raise our prices by 20. So the funny thing is, yes, the cost has gone up, but their profits have gone up. The gas companies' profits are the highest they've ever been. And that's because they raised their prices. And that's called greedflation. Well, I am going to let Dr. Paul explain something to you because they just said that the feds are raising the interest rates. And they're raising the interest rates to stop inflation. So if you're not financially savvy, you really don't know what that is and you kind of don't care. Well, it's really important that you know. They raise interest rates so people can't buy as much. Dr. Paul, why don't you tell us about inflation and raising the rates by the feds?
Yeah, well, inflation is basically, the prices are inflated. Things are more expensive. And everybody that buys something knows that, especially gas and especially other things. Since everything arrives by truck, everything you have arrives by truck, that increased transportation cost is going to be passed on to you, a lot of it. But the Fed, the Federal Reserve, which is actually kind of a private institution, they report to Congress, but their job is to monitor and control the spending system or the monetary system in the United States. It's a central bank, and most of the developed countries have a central bank. Yeah, they raise interest rates to slow down the economy, slow down the rate of inflation. Thing is that inflation is expected to go by about 2% a year, excuse me, at the most. But now we've got inflation, they say averages about 8.6%, 4 times the amount. Maybe it's more than that in other things. So it's 4 times as high. You're looking at the country going into, they say, recession. I think it's in a recession now, which typically is marked by higher unemployment. It's kind of crazy now because you got people looking for jobs, but periods of higher unemployment, higher prices, and a declining stock market. And the stock market took hits. And you have an honest, bona fide recession when you have 2 or more quarters of lower GDP. And I don't think it's been long enough. Gross domestic product. You're putting out less stuff. Your economy is growing a lot less, and it lasts for 2 quarters or 2-3 month periods, 6 months. So we'll see. So some say, well, expect the recession to be in place by 2023, which is about 6 months from now. So that would, time-wise, that would mean. But whether it does or not, you, me, or whatever, you need to be working on some other stuff. That's what I try to do personally. Some things have hit, some things haven't hit, but I think we should all be about business. A lot of folks are being forced into that. And I recommend an old movie. It's a comedy with Eddie Murphy called Trading Places.
Love it.
Old movie, but it's a nice movie. There's one section where he's, I won't say what it is, but he said, I'm thinking about business, all business, but he's snapping his fingers. And it's a comedy skit, but there's a lot of smart stuff to it too. So, you can't just look at the news and just be depressed, and it's easy to be depressed. What are you doing about it? What are you trying to develop? What product are you trying to develop? What solution to someone's problem are you trying to make? Maybe you come up with something, make some bucks. You can't come up with something. Maybe you and a friend do. Maybe a couple of people do. You get together and work. The reason we have this podcast is not from me. It's really from Drew and me. We work together as a team. I probably wouldn't be doing this by myself, but with another person, your efforts are multiplied. So yeah, the Fed has raised rates, and when they say they raise the rates, they raise the interest rates, and that's the money that other banks use to lend out. Because the Fed actually, let's see if I get it right. The Fed actually prints paper money. They print the paper money. The Treasury prints coins. They make coins, strange enough. The Fed prints the paper money, and they give it out to banks, and they lend it out, and the interest is where they make their money. Well, when they raise the interest rates, the money they give out to the banks, now the banks pay the Fed interest. They have to pay higher interest, so they don't give out as much. And if they're paying higher interest when they lend out money to individuals or businesses, they got to charge them more. So everything gets up, and those costs are passed on to people, and kind of slows things down. So I'm not going to spend all.
And Dr. Paul, just to break it down really simple, when the reason things slow down is because people stop buying. And when people stop buying, companies lower their prices because they want to continue to do business. And if we were smart and we stopped buying enough, they will lower their prices back down to somewhere where they're not losing again. And that's how inflation is beat. But it's a thing that we all have to do together. What we can't do together seems like we can't do anything about this climate change. We're not trying to do anything about climate change, and it is kicking our ass, Dr. Paul. We're having heat waves. We're having droughts. We're having floods. Yellowstone Park was flooded. First time ever, I think. There were extremes in all weathers. Tornadoes are going to get worse. Hurricanes are going to get worse. We are now talking about death. People are really dying from the weather, which didn't happen before. This brings me to a story about AOCS.
What's AOCS mean? What does that mean?
Aviation Officer Candidate School.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's where both you and I went to become pilots, our first introduction to the military. And our first introduction to the military were with gunnery sergeants. Now, unlike the movie, Officer and a Gentleman, you better not raise your hand to a drill instructor of the United States Marine Corps. So that kind of pissed me off about that movie. You do not go up against a gunny.
Yeah, have a karate tournament.
No.
That's called poetic license. We got to make the movie. It's a movie. Relax. It's not.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's how relaxed it is. We never even thought of something like that. Matter of fact, and that's why I'm talking about weather here. We used to have to exercise, and I went through in the summer. So they used to run our asses off in the dead of summer, heat. And they used to have this thing after I kind of was finishing called the black flag.
Yeah.
When you raise the black flag, it was too hot to exercise. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember the black flag.
I never saw the damn black flag because my gunny made sure we didn't see it. And you know how? He wouldn't let us look that way. So, first of all, that Aviation Officer Candidate School changed my life. I will tell you that. They don't have it anymore. And when you told me that, I am actually sad. This was an institution that changed my life. My drill instructor, Gunnery Sergeant Clark, was a father figure to me, like my father, matter of fact.
Right.
And this whole procedure, the military, everything, it made me the man who I am today. And I am very happy about that. But as I was leaving, you had it even a little harder than me because you were before me. It was back where they used to actually kick people's asses. It started lighting up, but we still had it rough.
Yeah.
But the big one was DOR, drop on request. They still have it, I think, in SEAL training. You have to ring the bell.
Ring a bell, yeah. Right.
With Navy pilots, you didn't have to ring a bell. All you had to say was DOR. And to tell you the truth, all you had to say was God dang D. When you said D, everybody else knew what was happening. And that was it. Everything stopped right then and there, and you went home. Yeah. Period. And that was the gunnies. He wanted you to DOR. Why? Because if you can't handle this, you definitely can't handle battle.
That's correct.
So they're weeding people out. So do you know when I left, maybe a year later, somebody said that they now have a 24-hour wait on your DOR. In other words, if you DOR, you have 24 hours to make that decision. And that just blew my mind. And I guess a lot of the things have become softer. We need more pilots, or there has to be a reason. But I won't ever forget my training at Aviation Officer Candidate School in Pensacola, Florida. My class was 2081. We kill commies just for fun.
Okay, cool. I was my class was 1776, and that's what our DI designated us, the bicentennial turds. Which I think that beats every other name, because that was the bicentennial year in the United States. It was yeah. When you say DOR, I think I saw maybe like 5 or 6 people DOR. It was like typically the first day or so, second day. But when I hear that term, my mind goes right back to the movie Officer and a Gentleman, the dramatic part where Lou Gossett has got, Zach Mayo, he's PTing him on the ground. PT. Physical training, as the Marines call it. Physical training. And he's spraying water on him, and he's on his back. He's doing flutter kicks, and his abdomen is burning. And, what do you want from me? I want your DOR. I want your DOR. No, sir, I'm not doing it. I want your DOR. He's got the hat and all this. It's a great scene. I can see that. Why does Hollywood like the Navy so much? If you think about it, you've got the sequence Officer and a Gentleman. Then we go to Final Countdown. A couple years later, 1980, I think. Countdown. No, Final Countdown came out in 80.
And that was on the Nimitz. That was my ship.
That's right. It was on the Nimitz. Yeah. So you got Officer and a Gentleman, Final Countdown, a couple of years later or a year later. Then you got Top Gun 1.
Flight of the Intruder.
Not a bad picture. Good picture. Pretty good. Yeah, good picture. Good picture. You're right. Flight of the Intruder, then Top Gun, then 36 years later, you got a Top Gun 2. It's Navy-ish, not super heavy, not the detail we're talking about. But I don't see that with the other services.
You know why, right? Dr. Paul, there are two kind of pilots in the world.
What kind are they?
Ones that fly off of ships and ones that wish they could. And you're a badass Navy jet pilot. That's just how it is.
Okay.
You're on the top of the list. And we work very hard to be there. I'm here by mistake. I busted my ass. I had no idea I was going to do this, but I'm here by mistake. But DOR, when you were saying DOR, the first DOR I saw was the very first day at AOCS. Everybody had, we just all went into a classroom. Some officer came in, with a uniform, talking normal and everything. And he said, I'm about to introduce you to your drill instructor. And I swear to God, Gunnery Sergeant came in and started this it was like a nuclear explosion about what is about to happen. And I remember these words. He said, now listen, somebody is DORing now. So you have two choices, all of you in here. You can go home today and look like you do, or you can go home tomorrow and look like a penis, because you're all getting your head shaved in the morning. But somebody is going home. And I swear, Dr. Paul, this kid raised his hand and said, I'm out of here.
Okay,
and
I don't doubt
in there, it established, not only am I bad, I'm predicting somebody's leaving, you're leaving, let's move on. It was a life changer. It really was. Hey, guess what?
What?
Just to make this a light story before we get into our wingman. Do you know that people for elephants took this story to court? They wanted elephants because they were intelligent animals to have the same rights as humans. And they said that to capture them was taking their rights away. So putting them in a zoo was taking their rights away because they believe that intelligent animals should have the rights of humans. And my question, Dr. Paul, is what if it's not that smart of an elephant? And what happened to a dolphin? What happened to other animals?
What about Great Danes?
Ooh, well, they're not the smartest. They're the sweetest. They're the kindest. They're the most loving. They're not the smartest.
Yeah. Well, how do you tell? You take like a SAT, or they have to ring a bell, or?
No, it's like when you throw a ball and they look at you like, "Nah, it's hot out there. I'm not going." Maybe they are smart now that you think about it.
Okay. Well, some people talk. A lot of people don't believe in zoos. The circus has stopped with the Barnum and Bailey.
No more animals in the circus.
Yeah, so that's kind of happening. Keep them in their natural habitat.
Wingman PSA. A wingman PSA. From the 11 facts in life. Emit integrity. Emit integrity. Don't lie, cheat, or steal. Everything you do comes back to you. This is a PSA for the Wingman Show.
Very good.
All right, you ready for our wingman of the week?
Yeah, who's the wingman this week?
Well, I'm going to move the wingman that we talked about. Oh, no, I got to say one other thing. The NBA Finals. Okay? You didn't screw it up, but you were with me. See, I have a new thing. I watch a basketball game now because it comes on late. I watch it in 2 days. The first half, go to sleep, don't watch the news the next day, and then watch the second half. So it's like 2 for 1 for me, right? Mm-hmm. So after the sixth game here, I watched the first half. Boston was getting beat, but Boston was getting beat. I went to sleep, woke up, not watching the news, not doing anything, and you and I went to work. And so we're going through our little thing, and we're reading news, and we're getting stories, and I'll be god dang, I didn't see it. Golden State Warriors won the crown. So it really ruined it for me. I really didn't even go back and watch it.
Yeah, I didn't spoil it for you. I watched it. I watched the whole thing. It's like, okay.
I got to say this, Curry, who was the MVP, you do realize he is a figure like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Mm-hmm. He changed basketball. He changed basketball. Right now, small kids now play basketball again.
Yeah. And they can shoot from when they walk into the gym. Just shooting.
I might not be able to dunk on you, but just stop this three. Mm-hmm. So anyway, okay, you ready for the wingman now?
Yes, tell me about the wingman.
The wingman this week is in honor of people like you, me, and millions of other men who are fathers. One of the most important wingmen in my life was my daddy. One of the most important jobs I've ever had as a wingman was to be a father. And now I'm a real badass wingman as a grandfather. It's like I got super jets now. I'm in a super jet. But being a wingman as a father, do you realize how many people are raised and we expect things out of them that never had a wingman, never had a dad to tell them how great they were, or to punish them when they were wrong, or to show them a way of what righteousness is and morals. And my father was the greatest father in the world. And not because he did everything right, but the things that he did wrong, I made sure I didn't do to my kids. So no matter how he taught me, he taught me. I've been blessed. Lori and I produced 2 wonderful kids. You and Kim produced 2 wonderful kids. But we are wingmen, Dr. Paul. And there are a lot of children out there who don't have fathers. And men who have children who don't take care of them, you're not worth the spit in my mouth. If you want to know something, you're not worth shit. You're not worth shit. And I've been wanting to say that, and I've said it many times before. Being a daddy is really important. But what trips me out, it comes from my heart. I'm doing this naturally. It's the only time I would step in front of a bullet immediately without thinking. If you shoot at Katrina or back, or, my parents or you, I'm thinking about it. I didn't say I'm not doing it. I just said I'm thinking. You shoot at Taryn, Drew, Angel, or baby Drew now, there's no thought. There's no thought. So, Dr. Paul, it's a tribute to you and all the great fathers out there. And I was a little harsh out there. So guess what? You're not a piece of shit if you try right now. You start right now. Go find your kids. And you know what? Tell them the truth. Do what America hasn't done with history. You can't change the past, but you can admit to it and try to get better. Life is the bomb, but you got to do it right. I ended with that one. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I ended with this one. You do good, you get good. So if you've done something wrong in the past, you can start today, because today you have control. Dr. Paul, what about your wingman?
Fatherhood is a job. It's a job. It's a good job. It's a hard job, and it comes with no instruction manual, no guidance. Typically comes from experience, and everybody's different. Your children are different. You're different, and you have to nurture and tutor them in ways they need to be tutored, not just let them grow up like wild weeds. And you see that. And part of the reason you've got this massive, crime increase across this country in all demographics is that it seems like there are no men around. There's no one in charge. There's no one doing. The men are gone, and there's basically what I would call kind of a sexual imbalance, where a lot of women are abound. They may be called strong women or whatever, and they have to be strong, actually, for a lot of reasons. But I'm thinking, like, well, where are the guys? Where are they? Why have they checked out? Why are so many have checked out? And everybody hasn't checked out. Sometimes it's we get into a stereotype. Most people that I know personally are very involved, even those who are divorced.
There are so many great fathers to help them son of a bitches who don't do anything. Dr. Paul, we're celebrating you. You're a great father. I don't know about these other guys, but people like my son, I'm going to tell you one thing right now about little Drew, my son. Actually, there's big Drew, little Drew, and baby Drew. But it's the only thing I've ever been jealous. I think he's going to be the greatest father of all. I wish I was his kid.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's probably look at the example he's got.
Everybody, I hope you come to wingmenshow.com. We have a website, Dr. Paul and I would love for you to visit. Has all of our shows in it. You new and old listeners, thank you so much for listening to this. We really do appreciate it. And I and Dr. Paul, we pray for peace.
Yes, we pray for peace. And in terms of if you can give us a like, share, subscribe, pass it on to your friends, other people, we'd appreciate that too.
Yeah, on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, especially Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. Just drop us a line or two.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth, and goodwill towards all men and women.